Hello everyone, Sober Oni of G&A Reviews here with another event guide, this time for the upcoming Oniland event for FGO NA. This event is going to be serving as our 2020 Halloween event, and it should be out sometime early next week. Just like with all my guides, this is going to be a very in-depth look at the event, covering everything from the new servants coming out to the most efficient farming strategies. So to help you guys out, I've included a list of timestamps in the description down below, so you can jump ahead to whichever part of the video you need the most. In addition, I should mention that in order to participate in this event, you do need to clear Lost Belt 2, so this is not an event for newer players. You will have to be up to date in the story in order to even participate. With all of that said, let's take a look at the most exciting part of the event, the new servants. With this event, we'll be receiving two brand new servants. First up, we have the welfare servant, caster Shuten. She is a 4-star caster with a max attack of 9,538 and a max HP of 11,025. She also has a single target Buster Noble Phantasm that specializes in taking down enemy assassins with high HP. As the welfare servant, she will be the free event reward to everyone who completes the event, so I highly recommend aiming for her. But we have one more new servant available in the gacha with Shuten. She is a 5-star Ultra Ego with a max attack of 11,668 and a max HP of 13,965. She also has a single target Arts Noble Phantasm and specializes in taking down enemy bosses due to her high NP damage and spam ability. Shuten is a very strong Ultra Ego that I highly recommend aiming for if you don't already have Melt, but if you'd like an even more in-depth look at Shuten and caster Shuten, I have full-on servant spotlights for them linked in the description down below. In addition to those two new servants, we also have rate-ups for returning servants. First up, we have the 4-star assassin, Assassin Paraiso. She has a max attack of 8,510 and a max HP of 11,637. She also has a single target Arts Noble Phantasm and specializes in her utility, being able to inflict stuff like NP Seal and Skill Seal on enemies. And last but not least, we also have a rate up for the 4-star Berserker, Ibaraki Doji. She has a max attack of 9,636 and a max HP of 10,954 with a single target Buster Noble Phantasm. Ibaraki is a pretty tanky berserker that is a good all-rounder and is capable of dealing heavy damage. So she is an excellent 4-star berserker to pick up if you don't already have a high-powered one like Beowulf or Herc. We'll be getting a plethora of new craft essences and command codes with this event. 6 new craft essences and 3 command codes in total. Starting off with the gacha craft essences first, we have the 3-star Ashigara Brothers. This increases quick card effectiveness by 3%, crit star drop rate by 5%, and popcorn drops by 1. In addition, if you max limit break it, it'll increase popcorn drops by 2. This is a pretty good budget craft essence for any kind of quick star generator like Cursed Masan, Fuma, or Rider Kentoki. Next up, we have the 4-star Merely Crimson. This craft essence increases your Buster card effectiveness, crit strength, and NP gain all by 8%, and increases the Churro drops by 1, and it'll increase it by 2 if you max limit break it. A pretty decent craft essence for any kind of Buster crit servant as well, like Rama, Nobu, and Gil. And finally, we have the 5-star Welcome to Oniland. This craft essence increases your Arts and Buster card effectiveness by 10% and starts your NP gauge off at 40% at the start of the battle. And for this event, it will also increase Sunday drops by 1 or 2 if you max limit break it. This is also an excellent craft essence for any kind of Arts Buster servants that love to spam their NP like Emiya, Sanzo, or even caster Shuten. Aside from those gacha craft essences, we'll also be getting 3 event craft essences which are purchasable in the event shop and given out as rewards. First up, we have the 5-star 3 Anglers. This will increase your quick card effectiveness, NP strength, and crit strength by 10%. In addition, for this event, it'll also increase your quick attack strength between 100 and 500% and increase the point drop amount by 30% or 60% if you max limit break it. This also makes for a good craft essence on quick crit servants like Melt, Kentoki Rider, and Okita. Following that, we also have the 5-star Freezing Bear Fight. This will apply Ignore Invincibility and increase your Buster card effectiveness by 8%. For this event, it will also increase your Buster card attack strength between 100 and 500% and the point drop amount by 30% or 60% if you max limit break it. Outside of the event, this can be a situationally good craft essence for any kind of heavy Buster servant like Herc, Jolter, or Ibaraki. And finally, the last of the free craft essences is the 5-star Royal Icing. This will increase your arts card effectiveness by 10% and your NP strength by 20%. For the event, it will also increase your arts attack strength between 100 and 500%, and increase the point drops between 30 and 60% if you max limit break it. This is an excellent CE for any kind of art spamming servants like Shuten, Archer Artoria, or Ryoma. And those are going to be the new craft essences with the event. Let's take a look at the new command codes. For command codes, we have the 3-star command spells of the White Vessel. This will remove 1 debuff from yourself whenever you use the card that this is affixed on. This can be pretty useful for any kind of servant who has self-inflicted debuffs like Fran or Melt. And really, you can just put it on any of their cards. Next up, we have the 4-star Sword of the Dragon Slayer. This will increase crit strength against dragons by 25%. Obviously, this is good for any kind of anti-dragon servant, especially if you put it on their buster cards, but it works best on servants like Sigurd, Sieg, and George. And finally, we have the 5-star command code Evil Dragon of Twilight. This will give your card an extra 20% damage against dragons. Just like with the 4-star command code, this is perfect on any kind of anti-dragon servant, and goes really well on buster cards, so I highly recommend giving it to Sigurd, Sieg, or George. As is the case with all events, this event will feature an event shop with 3 rather delicious event currencies in the form of popcorn, churros, and sundaes. You can use your popcorn to purchase a copy of Caster Shuten, as well as 1 copy of the 3 Anglers Craft Essence and the Royal Icing Craft Essence. You can also purchase shells, stingers, spinal fluids, 4-star and 3-star foes, 4-star and 3-star experience, and the Buster Code card openers. Using churros, you can purchase another copy of Caster Shuten, another copy of Royal Icing, and a copy of Freezing Bear Fight. You can also purchase Hearts of a Foreign God, lamps, phoenix plumes, Caster and Berserker pieces, 4-star foes, arts card openers, and a code remover. And finally, with the sundaes, you can purchase 2 copies of Caster Shuten, 1 copy of 3 Anglers, 1 copy of Freezing Bear Fight, some Reverse Dragon Scales, some Black Grease, Aurora Steel, Caster and Berserker Monuments, 4-star foes, a quick card code opener, and a code remover. If you plan on buying out everything in the shop, you're going to need 3,500 sundaes, 3,200 churros, and 3,800 popcorns. I should also mention that even though there's only 2 copies of each craft essence in the shop, you can get an additional 3 from the point ladder system, which means you'll be able to max limit break all of the event CEs without having to rely on any lucky drops. Speaking of the point ladder, I should also go over the event structure. Just like with Apocrypha and Summer 3, this event is going to be based around a point ladder system. Basically, as you complete free quests using your craft essences and bonus servants, you'll be rewarded with something called Comrade Points. And once you reach certain amounts of points, you'll receive certain rewards from the point ladder, all the way up until 2 million. These rewards include various things including additional craft essences, ascension material like dragon fangs and bones, gold apples, and even summoning tickets. And all you need to do to get these rewards is complete free quests, so it's very straightforward, and we'll cover the best farming spots in a later section. But the point system is not the only event mechanic here. This event will also include some raids. Raids are going to appear once you complete the 8th story quest on the 8th day of the event. And it's going to work very much like how it worked for Onigashima and Apocrypha. All of the players are going to participate and try to kill the raid boss X amount of times. In this case, the raid boss has 14 million lives. So this is going to be a server-wide raid, not a personal raid like Summer 3, which means that you can miss out on participating on it if you're not quick enough. In order for your kills on the raid boss to count, you must actually win the fight, so you can't lose or withdraw. In addition, using craft essences will also bolster the amount of damage you deal against the raid boss to make the raids a lot easier, so make sure you equip the appropriate craft essences. And finally, the last major mechanic of this event is going to be the extra damage from the CEs. Depending on the craft essence you use, you can get a damage boost between 100 and 500%, which depends entirely on how many points you've accumulated. The more comrade points you have, the more damage you'll do from your craft essences. Which means if you want to have an easier time in the raids, you must collect points. As for how you'll gain access to those raids, you'll do so by completing the story. There's going to be a new event story quest unlocked every day for a total of 11. And because this is a story locked event, the quests are going to be much harder than your average event. Enemies are going to have a lot of HP and break bars. But if you're able to beat Lost Belt 2, which you have to have done to play this event, then this is not going to be a real problem. Nothing in this event is harder than what you've seen in Babylon or the Lost Belts. It is worth noting though that Caster Shuten does have a 50% starting charge for every story mission, and there are many demonic enemies in this event, so it is recommended to use her as she'll give you a major advantage. There's also quite a few Berserker bosses in the event story, so if you have a foreigner, that'll help a lot, as does having a Berserker for some fights against the extra class servants. Completing the story will also reward you with a Grail, so it is very worth doing. After about the first 7 days of the event, Chapter 8 of the story will appear, and once you complete it, you will unlock the raid. As I mentioned earlier, the raid boss is going to have 14 million lives, so it's not based on HP. Once the server has killed the boss 14 million times, the raid is going to be complete, and if you weren't able to participate by then, you won't be able to. The raid is also going to cost 40 AP regardless of difficulty, and the higher the difficulty, the better the drops, so you should always farm the highest difficulty one possible. The easy raid boss is going to have 800,000 HP, the normal one is going to have 1.2 million HP, and the hard boss is going to have 2.5 million HP. In addition, the raid boss has a number of skills, including being able to apply nullified debuff to himself, being able to decrease your critical stars by 50 and increase his own crit rate, being able to nullify buffs on your party, and his Noble Phantasm will even decrease your party's NP gauge by 50%. It's absolutely imperative that you use your damage craft essences here, as they'll help you do a lot more damage. And remember that the more points that you have, the better your damage will be. The raids will also drop a ton of QP, so I recommend bringing a Mona Lisa or two to take advantage of that. But once the raid is beaten by everyone, the last 3 chapters of the story will unlock. And once you've completed those, you'll be done with the event and you'll get your permanent Caster Shuten. So if you're planning on just getting Caster Shuten, you'll need to first beat chapter 1 to get her temporary copy, then you'll need to beat the epilogue in order to get her permanent copy, and you'll be able to purchase additional copies for her NP level in the shop. You'll also be able to get ascension materials from the point ladder at 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, and 400,000 points. Okay, now let's talk farming strategies. There are a number of things to keep in mind when you're farming this event. First and foremost, remember to take advantage of the bonus craft essences. The gacha craft essences are going to help you when it comes to farming the shop currency. So the 3-star craft essence is going to help you with farming popcorn, the 4-star one helps with the churros, and the 5-star gacha CE helps with farming sundaes. When it comes to farming event points, you can use any of the event shop CEs, as they will all increase your point drops by 30%. So feel free to mix and match them and make sure you equip them to the appropriate servants. But in addition to the craft essences, there are also some bonus servants who will increase point drops. Caster Shuten and Shitonai will increase your point drops by 30%. Ibaraki, Da Vinci, Shuten, Assassin Paraiso, and Mosh will increase your point drops by 20%. And all of the children servants will increase your point drops by 10%. The most efficient strategy for farming is going to include rolling the friend point gacha for that 3-star craft essence, so that it will make farming popcorn much easier. Then you're going to want to farm all of the shop currencies until you can buy all of the shop CEs first. Make sure you buy those ASAP. However, you do not want to max limit break the shop CEs because you get more points from having 3 or more separate copies than you do from having 1 max limit broken. So keep them separate and farm as many points as you can to make yourself stronger for the eventual raids. But try to stick with just using natural AP, or at the very least, don't use up too many apples. You'll want to hold on to some of your apples for later on when the better farming nodes open. And speaking of better farming nodes, these are going to be the best locations to farm each of the currencies. For points, you're going to want to farm the Shaft Ruins. This location will also drop Chaos Talons, Octuplet Crystals, and Ghost Lanterns. However, if you don't have the Ruins unlocked yet, you can also farm for points in the base area. Sundays can be farmed at the Ferris Wheel, which will also drop Heroes Proof. However, if you haven't unlocked the Ferris Wheel yet, you can also farm for Sundays at Fire Mountain and the Teacups. Churros are best farmed at the Mirror House, which will also drop Divine Wine and Bones. But until you unlock the Mirror House, you can also farm for churros at the Labyrinth and the Merry-Go-Round. And finally, popcorn is going to be best farmed at the Food Court, which will additionally drop Giant's Rings and Magatamas. But until the Food Court is unlocked, you can also farm popcorn at the Service Area or the Forest. And finally, the last portion of this event to cover is going to be the Challenge Quest. This Challenge Quest is going to pit you against Caster Shuten and Shitonai. Both of them will have 2 break bars. Shitonai is going to have 251,000 HP, then 391,000 HP, and then finally 760,000 HP in her final HP bar. Caster Shuten is going to have 304,000 HP, then 420,000 HP, and then finally 850,000 HP on her final HP bar. Now that may seem like a lot of health for these servants, but keep in mind that the event craft essences work here too, so you can take advantage of that extra 500% damage. As for their skills and the gimmick of the fight, Shuten is going to start off the fight by giving her and Shitonai a big permanent buff to their crit damage, and is also going to buff your team's crit star drop rate. Other than that, both of these servants are going to keep their same skills in Noble Phantasm, however they will have different effects when you break their break bars. When you break Shitonai's first break bar, she's going to increase her attack and defense for 3 turns, and then when you break her second break bar, she's going to remove all of her debuffs, increase her buff success rate, and increase her NP strength for 2 turns. When you break Shuten's first break bar, she's going to increase the crit rate of all her allies, as well as increase your crit star drop rate, and when you break her second break bar, she's going to increase the attack and defense of everyone on the field for 3 turns. Other than that, this is a really straightforward fight, with no real twists or turns. You're going to want to focus on Shitonai first because she is the bigger threat, especially since she has the ability to NP charge, and she has class advantage over casters, which is likely going to make up a lot of your support. Don't let their HP intimidate you, because you do still have access to your 500% bonus damage CEs, and you can absolutely melt them with the right servants. If you have a Berserker with the Bear Fighting CE, they will absolutely destroy Shitonai. So high survivability Berserkers like Herc, Ku Alter, Ibaraki, or even Jean Alter can be very useful for fighting Shitonai. You should also keep in mind that their buffs are removable, so having a buff remover like Media or Ibaraki can be very useful for this fight. You should also bring a Rider or Alter Ego in the back row like Kintoki Rider, Melt, Ozymandias, or Ryoma to help you deal with Caster Shuten once Shitonai is down. There really isn't much else to this fight other than just powering your way through it. It is a far cry from Gilfest. And that about wraps up all the advice I have to give for this event. Just make sure that you clear Lost Belt 2 if you haven't already, because this event is likely going to be here early next week. Also remember that the story quests for this event open on a daily basis, so you're not going to see all of them right away. And you should make sure not to go hard with apples, because the best farming spots are going to open up later. Make sure that you complete the event story as soon as possible, that way you can participate in the raids before they're over, and make sure that when you're farming, use as many copies of the shop CEs as possible. Do not max limit break them until after the event. And finally, if you're going after Caster Shuten, all you need to do is complete the story, buy the additional copies of her in the event shop, and get 400,000 points. And with that said, good luck to everyone participating in this event, and if this guide did help you, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you can keep up to date with all my latest videos. If you haven't already, do check out those spotlights for Caster Shuten and Shitonai, both linked in the description down below and on screen right now. And if you haven't already, do join the party over our Discord, follow us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter, all linked in the description down below. Until next time, this is Soberoni signing out. Later.